Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening for the November 3rd, 2021 Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I'd like to point out a few things to assist commission members, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. Commissioners, please keep your microphones muted until you wish to speak. For this commission meeting, we are using Zoom to host the meeting. At the bottom of the Zoom client, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues, such as being unable to hear a commissioner speaking. Please use the raise hand if you would like to be recognized and enabled to speak to the commission by the chairperson. Comments in the chat feature will not be part of the public record. For the public to comment under oral communication or any agenda item, in addition to the raise hand feature, emails can be submitted to the city planner, limited to 350 words, and they will be read into the record. This limit is set to adhere to the typical 3-minute allowance. Only attendees using the Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participation from a telephone will allow for listening only and does not allow for any feedback. And finally, because we are not all in the same room, all votes at this meeting will be taken by roll call.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Perkins. Before we get started, let's go ahead and deal with the motion related to Zoom conferences. Or to make a motion, and I will make it now. By minute order, we have determined the governor has declared a statewide state of emergency regarding COVID-19 pandemic, and that COVID-19 creates an imminent safety risk to site and architectural commission members, as well as potential attendees of our conferences and meetings. And we authorize conduct of this meeting by telephone conference pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, open parens, small e. And note that between September 9th and September 15th, at least, we had a substantial number of community transmissions with a test positivity rate of 2.02%. And while we all hope that improves, we are going to entertain a motion that I just made for a meeting by way of Zoom tonight. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Flavie. Ms. Perkins, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Booker.
Present.
And how do you feel about the motion, Patrick, as well?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was doing.
We're going to kill roll call and the motion.
I was multitasking. I'm sorry.
I like it.
Yeah, I am in favor of the motion. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrington.
Yes.
Commissioner Sharma.
Yes.
Commissioner Zeidler.
Yes.
And Chair White.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Does that also satisfy our roll call? Because I think we've all that we're here. I probably should have started there. Patrick was smart to point that out.
I'm a creature of habit. I want the roll call first.
Okay. Well, I think we can all say that everybody's here. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes for the October 6, 2021 meeting that were supplied with our agenda packet tonight?
Yes.
And does anybody want to make a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead. Patrick, did you want to go ahead?
That's fine. You go ahead and make the motion and I'll second it.
Okay. I make the motion to approve the minutes from the November. What's the date on that again?
October 6th.
October 6th meeting notes.
And I'll second that.
And for the voting, Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharma,
Yes.
Commissioner Zeidler,
Yes.
and Chair White.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Okay, folks, only a couple things on our agenda tonight, which is great. But before we get there, we have an opportunity for the public to bring any sort of oral comments they want to make regarding any matter not on the agenda tonight. So this doesn't relate to the loan application relating 17721 Bruce Avenue or the objective standards about which we'll speak at the end of the evening. Is anybody, by using the raise hand feature, I'll know to call on you. Anybody have any public comments for the Site and Architecture Commission independent of agendized items? All right, seeing none, we're going to close the oral communications. And Ms. Perkins, independent of any written communications that you've supplied to the commission and now in our agenda packet online, are there any additional written communications for us to consider?
No, there is not.
Great. So we can dispense with that aspect of our agenda as well. And then we'll move to item number 1 on our public hearing. And if Ms. Perkins, you would be kind enough to introduce this tree removal permit request, we'd all be very appreciative.
Yes, thank you. As mentioned, this is a tree removal permit request to remove one liquid amber tree that is approximately 72 inches in circumference, located in the front yard of 17721 Bruce Avenue. And the applicants had 3 main reasons requesting this application. The tree does shade the photovoltaic panels on the roof of the house at certain times of the day. The applicant has provided some pictures that show damage caused to the house with some fallen limbs and a paved walkway that is being damaged by the tree roots. Staff does recommend approval for removal of this tree as the recommendation is that it does interfere with the utility service at the property and restricts the reasonable economic enjoyment of the property. And that completes the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, you know what? I apologize. We did receive one email from a neighbor on Bruce Avenue today that has been added to the agenda online, but I will read it into the record right now also. So the email reads, "This is the second request to remove the liquid amber tree at this address. I believe the reasons given for this removal to be suspicious. Clearly, the most recent homeowner re-landscaped the front yard and the liquid amber tree does not fit into the plan. The homeowner has, on more than one occasion, had the tree pruned and much of the height of the tree removed. I recognize the persistence and determination of the present homeowner to remove this tree. Over 46 years, I have appreciated the beauty of the tree and watched it grow to the magnificent tree that it is. It is sad to see it go. I respectfully request that any removal be done after the tree has lost its leaves. This is a beautiful, colorful tree that usually changes in time for all to enjoy it at Thanksgiving." And this is from Trudy Burling on Bruce Avenue.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Perkins. So the way that this process ordinarily occurs, for those of you that haven't been to these meetings before, the applicant is afforded an opportunity to speak to the application. They don't have to, but that we give them that opportunity. And then if anybody supports or opposes the application, we'll hear comments from them as well. So does the applicant want to speak tonight, or does it want to rest on what's been supplied in writing? If you want to speak, just raise hand feature and I'll know to call on you. All right, Mr. Weiberg.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, did I mispronounce your name? I apologize.
It's close enough. Yeah, no problems. It's
All right.
Weiberg.
Weiberg, my apologies.
Yeah. Hey, I get what this other person said, and I hate to see it go to this liquid amber. I do, but I understand this person's suspicion. But what we tried to do is we applied several years ago to have this liquid amber removed. Okay, and it was denied, and we were allowed 1 year to install a solar panel system on our roof and perhaps reapply. Well, that didn't happen, and it's been maybe 2 or 3 years since we applied. Now we have new landscaping. Now we have a solar PV system on our roof. And we've tried to trim the tree down to allow more light to access the PV system. But, you know, cause and effect, by doing that, we get all these little sucker branches that literally snap off in the wind. And they come down, and we'll get, in a year, we'll get maybe 10 to a dozen that come down, you know, and they're decent size. I don't think they kill anybody, but they sure would hurt. So this is our proposal. We'd like to bring it down, get something in here that, yes, does tie into the landscape, and that's a little shorter and a little slower growing. Okay. So that's about all I have to say on that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weaver. Do
Sure.
any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time and comments. Thank you. All right, anybody else from the general public that wants to speak to this particular application? Use the raise hand feature. I'll know to call on you. All right, seeing none, we will close public comment and leave this for the commission to discuss at this point in time. Who wants to lead off?
I'll just make comment based on the email that I saw. I mean, I think that I would be in favor of removing the tree, obviously, for the reasons given by the homeowner. But I do think that maybe just to be a little bit more, you know, amiable to the neighbors around, maybe we could perhaps put a condition in there, if everybody's on board with it, to remove the tree after the fall season, if that's possible. I mean, it seems to probably make one person happy to do that. So, you know, might as well be accommodating. So.
Thanks. Thanks, Patrick. Anybody else?
So my thought on this is there wasn't an arborist report that was attached to this application. And so that's a concern, because I'm not sure from the picture how much of that footpath is being actually damaged by the roots. And I'd like to see something, you know, that an arborist could maybe, you know, talk to. And then the first, you know, concern, which was the blocking, you know, shading of the solar panels. So from the other side photo, you know, what I could see is that at least during the afternoon hours, right? Because I think the property faces south, there is a lot of sun and directly on those panels. So for those two reasons, I would be reluctant to support this application. And sorry, one more comment. In the email from the neighbor, the word is specious, and I had to look it up. It's not suspicious, it's specious, and what it means is factually correct but misleading. So I had to look it up, so that's why I just wanted to kind of point that out.
Specious. No, it's a good word.
Yeah.
If
I
nothing else.
apologize. I misread it. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay, Diana.
No, not at all.
It's not a word we're all using, so if nothing else,
Yeah,
we got
exactly.
that out of today.
I had to look it up too. I had no idea what it means.
All right, anybody else besides Patrick Blavi?
I was around for the first go for the tree removal request back in the day. I remember it. I agree with Pallavi. I don't think solar access to their solar panels is blocked. I've looked at it during the afternoon time too, and they seems to get full sun. I'm always concerned removing large trees that are beautiful in our neighborhood, and part of having trees is leaves fall, branches fall. That's just part of having a tree. The tree's been trimmed up quite a bit, so I feel like that's not a legitimate reason to take out a tree. And I'm kind of with Pallavi on the arborist report as well, and I don't really see in the picture, I don't see that the pavement is really that much of a problem. It's part of having trees as well. They're pavers, so easily that can be remedied by lifting out the pavers and trimming the roots out and putting them back down. So that reason can also be remedied. Now And those are my thoughts, I guess.
Thanks, Heather. Allison?
I have kind of mixed feelings. It's a big, beautiful tree. I understand, when you kind of aggressively prune a tree, the new growth is then weak. I had an arborist explain it to me about the different kinds of tissue attaching the branches and such. I don't remember the details well enough to share them, but I have no doubt that little branches do come off now of the heavy pruning by the homeowner, I guess, when the prior request was denied to remove it. So I kind of have mixed feelings at this point on how to proceed. It probably would have been stronger had it not been pruned heavily. One way to do it would be to just get an arborist report, ask for an arborist report, because then they could the current condition of the tree and the safety and such.
Thank you. I'm on the same page as you are. I'm not opposed. It's a beautiful tree, and I don't like to see aged trees in our community removed for no particular reason. So having an arborist report would have been very helpful in this respect. But I also realized that a replacement tree could be placed in that very same location that may not have the impact or the negative impact that the homeowner perceives by reason of this particular tree. And I would support that if that were the case. So I'm on the fence on this one, like as everyone else is. Does anyone feel strongly enough to bring a motion to approve or deny the application? And then we can kind of see where we are in terms of a vote.
Well, I would bring a motion to approve it under the condition that a replacement tree be put in its place. I've had liquid amber trees before, and I can tell you that they're a nuisance, quite honestly, and they're very messy. And when you do trim them and when you cut them back, they do become even more troublesome in terms of not huge branches like the homeowner said, snapping off, but they can be somewhat of a hazard. And I'm looking at this, these pavers, this walkway here, and I can see where some of them are lifted up and where the root line runs right along the side of the path itself. So that itself could be somewhat of a hazard. So I would make a motion to approve it with the replacement of a tree.
And would you also condition your motion, Patrick, on waiting until after the first of the year for removal of the tree?
Yeah, just to keep the neighbor happy.
Yeah, I know you mentioned it earlier, and I think it's a great idea. All right, is there a second to that motion? I will second the motion if for no other reason than to give us a vote. All right, Ms. Perkins, if you'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
I'm so in the middle. I'll say yes.
I'm sorry, that was a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Sharma,
No.
Commissioner Zeidler,
A lot of cities are discouraging putting them in now because they are messy. So, I'll say yes.
and Chair White.
Yes. All right, Mr. Weberg, hold that tree till January 1 at least. Be kind to your neighbors and plant something in its replacement, because you're not far from all of us and we'll be down there looking at it. Good luck with that project. All right, that wraps up the one public comment portion of our agenda. And then the last thing is something that I asked be put on the agenda, and that is these objective criteria that we're supposed to be working hard to develop. And I don't know what the perception is of my fellow commissioners, but I am completely lost by this process and feel like we need a little more structure and a little bit more guidance, quite frankly, from the city council. By council, I'm using the COUNSEL legal counsel end of it, as opposed to the other council, COUNCIL, if I do this correctly. And I reached out to the mayor, and unfortunately we didn't connect before tonight's meeting, and he had a meeting last night. I'd like to get some some direction from Sergio if we can. That's the city's attorney. Some of the things that I think are important for us to consider that maybe aspects of the objective design criteria or may not be, and we need some direction in this, is the impact of, in particular, SB 9, where lots can be subdivided ministerially, include, in addition to having ADU and JADUs on them, the impact on the infrastructure for water, sewer, I think is going to be significant. And if we can develop criteria that will alleviate some of the burden of those utility features, such that the city's not, down the line having to recreate or enlarge those features by virtue of all the increased demand placed on the various lots, I think that's a significant element of what we should be putting together in this set of objective criteria. I may also learn that that has nothing to do with design, and that's something that the city council should take on independent of objective design criteria. But I think we need some guidance in that respect. And I think, I was hoping to get their packet before tonight. They have a kind of a preliminary packet that Diana was kind enough to attach to our agenda again tonight, but they're supposed to be updating that, and they're supposed to provide diagrams, which I think are extremely helpful, because I'm not sure I understand how some of these things are described in the draft one without the diagram that's supposed to be placed in there. And so I wanted to talk tonight amongst the commission and see if people are feeling the same way, or people feel strongly that we're ready to go on this. And what we have as a draft is the best we're going to get, and it's time to deliver it to the city council for consideration. So that's my introduction of the subject, and I apologize, it's not very well structured.
So if I may, I think I can
Yes,
add a little, hopefully clarity, at least to the process, if not to the legislation. So the objective design standards was a project that was started earlier this year and was at that time would have applied to projects under state legislation called SB 35 and SB 330, as well as it would apply to any project that is reviewed ministerially. So there's no discretion for items that are not heard by the commission. And so right now, 2021, that would include accessory dwelling units. So the objective design standards were intended to replace or to serve as sort of design guidelines, but as objective standards for projects where the city's design guidelines cannot be used because they are subjective.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you there for a quick, Diana?
Yes.
Just because I want some clarity on that, because I thought at the joint conference we had with the city council, Sergio made clear that the city of Monte Sereno would probably never receive an application under SB 35 because it relates to a particular class of housing that we don't have, either mixed use or commercial or some sort of a low income variant. Is that correct?
Yes, that's very likely that we would not see it. Yeah, those, the SB 35 projects really apply to multifamily, where there's a high percentage of different types of affordable units, low income, very low income.
Okay, good. And then, what is SB 330 targeting? Is it targeting a particular type of housing?
So SB 330 applies to any housing project that is 2 or more units. And for the purpose of SB 330, an accessory dwelling unit is considered a unit.
So that's what we were looking at our last meeting, for example.
Exactly. So SB 330 would allow our current design guidelines to be applied to a project, but you can condition the project on some changes to comply with the design guidelines, but you couldn't deny a project in a way that would reduce the density. So Again, I don't know how often that will apply to projects that we see here in Monte Sereno. Traditionally, one house and one ADU, but you couldn't, for example, limit the height to a point that the number of units would be reduced.
Okay, and then SB 9, which is kind of where I've been focused, I think that's our principal concern. That allows anybody to subdivide their lot and have an ADU and JDU on the subdivided lots. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so this really is, I think, the big one at this point for us, particularly. And we have been working, staff has with, there's been a lot of meetings happening between the Bay Area jurisdictions, Santa Clara County jurisdictions. There's been a lot of discussions with Sergio, our city attorney. What the current schedule is that we will be presenting an ordinance to the Site and Architectural Commission as well as the City Council before the end of the year. The plan is to have an urgency ordinance, which would be effective immediately after the council would approve it, versus the requiring the second reading. And then normally an ordinance would be effective 30 days after the second reading, which would take us well into next year at this point. So we're planning on, it's a big endeavor, but based on the timing, I'm not sure we have an alternative at this point, but to bring our ordinances for adopting SB 9 and the objective design standards together to the Site and Architectural Commission and then the City Council. I wasn't able to confirm with Sergio before this meeting, but in speaking with the city manager, we will be targeting December 21st for the council meeting. And so one idea I wanted to bring up today is if we couldn't get the draft ordinances completed in time for the December 1st Site and Architectural Commission, if the commissioners would be available for a special meeting on December 8th.
December 8th, is that what you said, Diana?
That's what I'm suggesting. If
Okay.
there's another date that would work better, we could certainly do that also.
No, I just didn't hear you. And so I'm clear, the reason for the emergency style adoption is to avoid any applications that are received shortly after or on January 1 or thereafter without any design criteria at all.
Correct, without any design criteria, as well as there are other areas where the state legislation on SB 9 is either silent or allows a local jurisdiction to require certain things, if they have an ordinance that requires it. So for example, on the lot splits, the state legislation does say that the lots need to be approximately equal sized, with one lot being not less than 40% of the total area.
Okay.
But there isn't any criteria in the state legislation regarding the frontage length of the two new lots. So that would be
Okay.
an area where we could make a requirement that wouldn't prohibit the lot splits, but would also end up with one lot that has a 5-foot frontage, for example.
Right.
So there's
And then-
some kind of holes that we can fill in also.
In relationship to what I was asking about, and if you don't know, you don't know, I'm not putting you on the spot, but can we make as part of our objective design criteria requirements in relationship to the infrastructure that is going to support additional housing?
So I believe it would be a little site specific. For example, in a meeting I was on earlier today, the question of potentially, not necessarily utilities, but potentially requiring a fire department, a fire truck turnaround on a property. And that obviously could potentially take up quite a bit of a site.
Right.
and not necessarily allow for the 2 units that would be legal come January 1st. And the attorney from Goldfarb Lippman, who was on, they were making this presentation today, it was their opinion that those types of conditions, again, would be site specific and project specific. And there is an allowance in the law that would allow the building official of the jurisdiction to make a determination that there are health and safety impacts that cannot be avoided.
Okay, and that's that language that we've looked at in the past about.
Yes, so
okay.
We would need to confer with the city attorney in terms of capacity. I'm sorry, the city engineer in terms of any existing capacity limits or issues that we may have with the sewer system.
Okay, and then Mike, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, or maybe you just answered it and I just a little thick skulled, but would that be part of the objective criteria, or that would be an independent assessment by the city building official?
So it would be an independent assessment.
Okay, not part of what we would be putting together. All right.
Correct. So the projects that come in under SB 9, as we're envisioning it today, they would still submit an application to a planning application, but it would be reviewed by staff administratively.
Okay.
So it would be reviewed by myself, the city engineer, and the building official. Of course, we send it to the fire department also. We would review it for the criteria in what our adopted SB 9 ordinance would require. Additionally, the design, sort of the architectural features, the site planning would then also have to comply with our objective design standards.
Okay. And I know that you must be part of a group, perhaps this is what you were doing today, but everybody's scrambling to do the same thing we're doing, I suspect. Is that pretty fair assessment?
It's a very fair assessment, yes.
Okay, very good. I mean, it just seems like such a tight window to get all this accomplished. And are you, do you have an opportunity to receive what other municipalities are doing by way of draft objective criteria and share that with the commission?
I certainly can. I know the city of Campbell a couple of weeks ago, and last night the city of Cupertino staff both presented to their city councils sort of a framework of what staff is suggesting at this point. And I definitely think both of their reports are very good in providing some background information and some ideas. So yes, I can definitely pass those on.
That would be very kind of you, if you don't mind doing that. I don't mean to make more work. We also can just look them up on our own, but
well, that's fine. That's easy.
Yeah, but that would be great. And then, my thought to my fellow commissioners is I think it's going to require a little due diligence on all our own behalves, independent of these meetings, to go look at communities that are similar to ours. Cupertino and Campbell are nearby, but we don't have any retail. We don't have any mixed use. We have larger lots, presumably, in our community. And so communities like Los Altos Hills is one that I've been watching closely, who hasn't done anything as of yet, in a formal sense of adopting anything. Those types of communities, I think, are better suited as ones that we should be studying than some of the more nearby cities that have general plans and zoning that we don't have here. Anyway, that's my thought. And again, to commissioners, if there's, I think this is a very, 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 very important piece of legislation that we're having to pass judgment on. And I know we're not going to get it completely right, as evidenced by the mechanism by which we're going to do this from an emergency basis and then modify later as we see fit. But let's give it our best effort to start. And I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page of understanding about what our role is and why this is important. So anybody have any other questions for Diana? Diana, you've been great tonight. Thank you very, very much. Yes, Heather.
I do. I'm trying to understand what, and excuse me if these are just kind of rudimentary, simple questions. So at one point, we weren't allowing flag lots in our city. So according to this law, we can't deny a lot split based on one of the lots being a flag lot, which we wouldn't allow in our city. That's not criteria for, that we're allowed to have. Is that correct?
You know, it's interesting that you bring up this flag lot requirement, because I was just speaking with the city attorney about it this morning. And our code is currently not 100% clear on the flag lot situation. So that is one thing that, at least for projects that would be submitted under the SB 9 legislation, that we are looking to clarify in the ordinance that we do bring forward.
Sorry.
So, but yes, that is one thing. That's,
I think a conforming lot has a 70-foot frontage, and there's many lots in this area. Mine would be one of them that's not 70 feet. So would that also be a criteria, would be another question.
so we
Just
cannot,
stuff like that.
correct. So according to Sergio, and speaking with him about a week ago, we can definitely provide some criteria, as I mentioned, for sort of these areas where SB 9 is silent. But our criteria cannot be so restrictive that it has the effect of not allowing the lot splits.
Okay, so here, let's just use my lot just as an example. So I have a just shy of 9,000 square foot lot that's long and narrow. I have currently a 10-foot wide driveway that goes to the back portion of my lot. Could I take my lot and divide it into two 4,500 square foot lots according to this law?
On its face, yes.
That's crazy. I mean, there's other cities, if you look at like Carmel by the Sea, there's tiny little lots that are smaller than that. There's other areas, Newport Beach, like Balboa Island would have that. There's many cities that have little tiny lots, but that's what's gonna end up happening, I would guess, everywhere.
So in the legislation, there is a minimum lot size for the resulting two lots,
Yeah.
and it is 1,200 square feet.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
okay. That was going to be my question.
Okay.
Is there a minimum that we can specify? Okay.
So I'm happy to email everybody a copy of SB 9. It's no fun to read. And so that's why I'm kind of looking for getting some guidance from Sergio. But Diana, how soon do you understand we'll get a new draft from M Group, or I forget what it's called, consultants? M Group, sorry.
So for the objective design standards piece, I did speak with M Group after the joint study session, and they were going to be proceeding with some of the diagrams, as you had mentioned. In those areas, there is a representative from M Group at the meeting tonight to listen to your feedback, and then they'll address any additional comments that you might have on the objective standards.
I see Aaron out there. Aaron, are you from M Group?
Didn't mean to put you on the spot, Aaron, but she is.
Aaron, all I want to know is if you guys have some plan for when we're going to receive something more, just so we can plan accordingly. All right, Aaron, if you unmute your mic, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi. Yes, we were planning on going over the comments that were given to us at the last joint study session, and then just based on the conversation tonight, and then get something back to Diana and talk over that within the next couple weeks.
Okay. So thank you, Aaron. Does December 8 work for the other commissioners to have an opportunity?
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, I guess so.
So we have our regular meeting on December 1st, and then this one will be a special meeting for this discussion, correct?
Yeah, because my understanding is they're not going to have anything for us by December 1st.
I got it. Okay.
That-
December 8th works for me. I'm going to be actually out on December 1st, but December 8th works fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I might have a conflict on December 8th, but I can, I'll email you and confirm one way or the other.
Does it help anybody to meet earlier?
I would prefer November, but only if they're ready. I feel like these design standards are so short and thin. What we were working off before was just 10 times more robust. And I just feel like this really needs to be fleshed out way more. And I spent just a couple minutes. I don't know if it was Los Altos standards or some other cities, but they were just much better. And I know there might be conflicting interests in that it's probably easier for administrative staff to review if they're short as, you know, projects come in. But if we want to capture what we really want in our city, I think the standards need to be much, much longer and more detailed. So I'm in favor of getting more sooner. I feel very uncomfortable with the track we're on and how sparse it is, frankly.
I agree, which is why I asked this to be on the agenda tonight. And by earlier, folks, I'm just not communicating very well tonight. I meant like maybe 5 or 6 p.m. as opposed to 7 on the 8th.
Oh.
Sorry, that was my bad. I should have made that clear. I would think that would be beneficial to staff. Don't you guys want to get home at a better hour?
Whatever works for the commission is good. We will definitely make every effort to meet the December 1st
Okay.
hearing. We do have up to 4 items on that agenda potentially, but we will definitely make every effort to meet that date. I just don't know, you know, with Sergio's schedule and getting the ordinance drafted,
Right.
if we'll be able to meet that or not. We may be able to. So normally for the December 1st agenda for the public hearing items, those would be completed and your packets would be delivered on November 19th, which is just 2 weeks from this Friday. So it may be if we could try to meet the December 1st date, that this one report would be delivered a little bit later. But then also the next week we run into Thanksgiving on Thursday and Friday.
Well, I think I would prefer, and commissioners, you let me know, but my preference would be, because we have 4 items, that we deal with the applications that we're, you know, charged with reviewing on a monthly basis, and then have a special meeting devoted to this particular topic. Otherwise, it's, you know, we're going to be here for 4 hours, and that's not fair to everybody. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
No, I would actually appreciate it because I don't think I can attend the December 1st meeting.
Okay. So let's tentatively set something for the 8th. I don't care what time we start.
Yeah,
I prefer.
I'm open on the 8th, by the way. I just checked, so I'm good.
Oh, great.
The earliest I can make the meeting is 6 p.m. I work until 6.
Oh, all right. Well, if that's a difficult time, then let's just stick with 7. No problem.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, let's specially set something for the 8th, and then if we can get the packet before the meeting on the 1st, we'll at least have a chance to review it. We won't talk about it necessarily on that meeting, but we'll be more than well prepared for the 8th.
And then also, again, I apologize. I had emailed Sergio sort of a draft items for this SB 9. I did want to ask him if he would be available on December 8th.
Please.
And get a chance to follow up with him before the meeting today. But yes, we will make sure that Sergio is available for that meeting also, because I think his take is very important.
And that was the principal focus of my call to Mayor Luto, is I didn't want, you know, time is money with lawyers. And so I don't think we can just, hey, have a lawyer there. I want the city council to make sure they're on board with that and approve the expenditure. So that was the reason why I was going that route, not to circumvent Diana at all. But if you have the authority to make that type of connection, let's do it, because I'd love to have them there.
Yes, I did speak with the city manager
Great.
on Monday, so.
Awesome. So does that sound good, folks?
Yeah.
December 1st, we're going to hear 4 projects, and then December 8th, we'll talk about this. And hopefully we'll have a lot more meat to talk about by then. And Diana's going to do us a great service by delivering Cupertino and Campbell's presentations. And then all of us are going to do some due diligence on our own regarding communities that we think are a little more similar to what we live in here. Okay.
And as you review the SB 9 or these objective standards, look at what other cities might have available. If you have any other suggestions, certainly email me.
Okay. You can get them to M Group. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Anything else, commissioners?
I think we should reach out to other cities as much as possible, not only look at what's online, but it just, smaller communities like ours are doing this all in silos. And it just seems like there'd be such a benefit with working with some similarly situated communities. Drafting wise, we'll end up with a better result. And maybe they have thought of, tricky things that we haven't. Can we liaise with some other cities, councils or staff?
So on the SB 9 front, there is several different groups, Bay Area wide, as well as Santa Clara County, that we have been meeting. There's been meetings almost at least weekly for the last month or so. And again, everybody's kind of trying to flesh out what the SB 9 was intended to require and what the language actually says, as well as what additional criteria we can add as a jurisdiction. So there is a lot of collaboration on that. The objective design standards, I think for sort of our immediate area in Santa Clara County, there are a few other cities that have adopted objective design standards, but not very many. So we are actually a little bit ahead of the curve on the objective design standards. That isn't, there isn't, I guess, quite as much collaboration right now on that, because it has, it has been a requirement for a while, that certain projects can only be reviewed for compliance with objective standards, but there isn't kind of this January 1st push for it. So the SB 9 has kind of taken over.
All right. Well, we've got as good a plan as I think we can do.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I will see you guys on the 1st and the 8th. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Dave, for sticking around. And Aaron, thanks for coming tonight and hearing us. All right, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I know.